What if I told you the worst nightmares in sci-fi movies actually happened? Today we're counting down 10 of the most brutal human experiments in history, ones that will make your skin crawl, your jaw drop, and your faith in humanity. Well, let's just say it'll take a hit. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for number 1, because what they did in the name of science will haunt you. Number 10. The tear gas tests on American soldiers. Picture this. You're a young American soldier during World War II. You signed up to fight Nazis, maybe serve your country, maybe even be a hero. Instead, they throw you into a gas chamber. No, not that kind of gas chamber. This one's part of a top-secret military experiment to test chemical weapons. The US military wanted to see how soldiers would react to mustard gas, Lewisite, and other delightful cocktails of skin-melting compounds. Soldiers were stripped naked, sent into sealed rooms, and told to just breathe normally. Side effects included burning lungs, permanent scarring, and the occasional, "Oops, we didn't mean to test that much." Some men weren't even told what was being tested. One soldier thought it was a routine drill until his skin started peeling off. It's science meets horror movie, funded by Uncle Sam. Number 9. The Stanford Prison Experiment. It was supposed to be a simple psychology experiment. Let's pretend we're in a prison, they said. It'll be educational, they said. Instead, they unleashed the darkest corners of the human mind. Inside a college basement, Professor Philip Zimbardo recruited 24 normal college guys and randomly assigned them roles as guards or prisoners. What followed was 6 days of mental torture, sadism, and complete psychological breakdown. The guards. They got creative fast, forced push-ups, sleep deprivation, humiliation games. One guy was told to simulate sexual acts with another inmate using a broom. The prisoners? They broke. One man had a full-on mental collapse, screaming that he couldn't tell what was real anymore. And Zimbardo? He didn't stop it. He watched. He took notes. And what did we learn? That power corrupts quickly, and college students are terrifying when left unsupervised. Number 8. Unit 731, Japan's House of Horrors. You've heard of Auschwitz, but have you heard of Unit 731? This was Japan's secret biological warfare unit during World War II. Think Nazi experiments, but somehow worse. Hidden in the frozen outskirts of Manchuria, Unit 731 was a facility where doctors didn't just break the Hippocratic Oath, they set it on fire and danced on the ashes. Prisoners, often Chinese civilians, were referred to as logs. Why? Because officials wanted to keep up the lie that this was just a lumber mill. These logs were vivisected without anesthesia, had limbs amputated and swapped between bodies, and were infected with the plague just to see how fast it would spread. Some were strapped down and had their bodies frozen, thawed, and frozen again until their flesh turned black and sloughed off. And the worst part? After the war, the US government granted immunity to many of these war criminals in exchange for their research. Number 7. Project MKUltra. Let's talk about mind control, because the CIA certainly did. In the 1950s and 60s, America's top intelligence agency got real paranoid about the Soviet Union. Their solution, MKUltra, a mind control program that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but was very real. The idea was to see if they could erase minds, create sleeper agents, or control people with drugs, particularly LSD. Problem is, they didn't ask for permission. They just started drugging people. One guy, Frank Olson, was dosed without warning, then started having breakdowns. He thought he was being watched, said he wasn't himself. 9 days later, he jumped, or was pushed, out of a hotel window. So next time someone says, "That sounds like MKUltra," maybe don't roll your eyes so fast. Number 6. Monster Study. With a name like The Monster Study, you'd expect some kind of B-movie creature feature. But this one's worse, because the real monsters were the scientists. In 1939, researchers at the University of Iowa wanted to understand what caused stuttering. Their method? Find 22 orphaned children and emotionally traumatize half of them. Some kids were praised for their speech. Others, who spoke just fine, were constantly told they sounded bad. They were scolded, ridiculed, made to feel ashamed. Result, some of those children developed lifelong speech impediments. Others withdrew completely, becoming anxious, self-loathing, and socially stunted. No compensation, no apology, just emotional scars from an experiment that never should have been approved in the first place. Number 5. The Guatemalan STD Study. It sounds unbelievable, but it's true. US doctors infected hundreds of people with STDs in another country without their consent. In the 1940s, American researchers wanted to study how penicillin could treat syphilis and gonorrhea. But ethical rules? Nah, those were optional back then, so they went to Guatemala and deliberately infected prisoners, soldiers, mental hospital patients, and even children. Some were told they were getting vaccines. Others were never told anything at all. The team used infected prostitutes to spread the disease. Or in some cases, they directly injected bacteria into people's spines or open wounds. What happened next? Nothing. They collected data. Many patients died, and the researchers returned to the US as if it were just another day in the lab. President Obama formally apologized to Guatemala that year, but the victims never got justice. Number 4. The Tuskegee syphilis study. Imagine going to the doctor and trusting them. That's what 600 black men in Alabama did in 1932 when the US Public Health Service offered them free health care. They were promised treatment for bad blood, a vague term used to describe various ailments. But here's the horror. What they were actually being studied for was syphilis. 399 of them had it, and the government had no intention of treating them. Even after penicillin became the known cure in 1947, the doctors withheld treatment just to observe how the disease destroyed the body. These men went blind, insane, and died painful deaths. Some passed the disease to their wives. Their children were born infected. The doctors even gave fake medicine, sugar pills, and tonic water to keep the illusion going. And it lasted not a year, not 5, but 40 years. Number 3. The Soviet sleep experiment, but real. You've heard of the creepy Soviet sleep experiment creepypasta, but what if I told you there's a grain of terrifying truth behind it? During the Cold War, the Soviet Union explored ways to weaponize human endurance, especially sleep deprivation. In classified experiments, prisoners were kept awake for 10, sometimes 15 days, using experimental stimulants and loud noises. Some were placed in pressurized chambers with gas pumped in to keep them conscious. After just 3 days, paranoia set in. By day 5, hallucinations. They'd see bugs crawling under their skin, hear voices, beg to be released. And by day 9, some subjects were found clawing at their own flesh, convinced something was inside them. In one recorded case, a man began eating his own fingers, one by one, and the Soviets wanted to harness that madness. Number 2. The Holmesburg prison experiments. In the 1950s through the 70s, one Philadelphia prison became a playground for corporate science. Welcome to Holmesburg Prison, where inmates were paid a few dollars to test lotions. But spoiler alert, they weren't testing lotion. They were testing Agent Orange, radioactive isotopes, mind-altering drugs, and skin-burning chemicals. One inmate later described his skin being covered in a substance that boiled it like bacon. The lead researcher, Dr. Albert Kligman, once said, "All I saw before me were acres of skin. It was like a farmer seeing a fertile field." Let that sink in. These weren't test subjects. They were harvestable resources to him. Number 1. The human radiation experiments. And here we are. The most haunting, government-approved nightmare of them all. Between the 1940s and 70s, as America raced to dominate nuclear technology, hundreds of people, most of them poor, sick, or simply unaware, became human Geiger counters. In one case, hospital patients were injected with plutonium without consent, just to see how long it stayed in their system. Others were fed radioactive oatmeal in orphanages. Yes, orphanages. One group of terminal cancer patients was told they were getting experimental treatment. In reality, whole-body radiation exposure, burning them from the inside out. Some died immediately. Others lingered in agony, not knowing why their organs were shutting down. The government buried it all until a 1990s investigation exposed thousands of documents, revealing the shocking scope of the experiments. So yeah, never trust free oatmeal. These weren't just bad ideas or unethical studies. These were crimes against humanity. Let's remember these horrors not to dwell on the darkness, but to make sure we never, ever go back. If you made it this far, first, thank you. Now go ahead and subscribe if you're into history that hits hard.